Welcome to episode 91 here of Drew's Sports Crew. Here on this Sunday night, myself, Drew Skyberg, bringing you the news in the sports world. And we, of course, had a wild week. It seems as always, right? I mean, the Packers have a thrilling win in Chicago, right? That was the big story today. And then, of course, the Milwaukee Bucks get the job done with an empty, shorthanded Bucks squad. They win in Charlotte yesterday. We'll be talking about that as well as, of course, the Bucks preview for Week 8, I believe already. Time's flying in that season, and also, I didn't even mention what I'm talking about first here. We're talking about the Eastern Wisconsin Conference. We got updates on the girls and boys side for basketball. We'll be focusing on in this episode. Of course, we'll be going through your standing updates. We'll be going through stat updates on both sides, and we'll be also going through some of the previews there for this upcoming week here, right? I mean, it's one of the first full weeks of just conference games. So that's something to look forward to for, Eastern Wisconsin Conference. But otherwise, announcement-wise, right, follow on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Drew Sports Crew. A lot of great stuff on the TikTok, Instagram, as always. And, of course, Twitter. I got some things on there once in a while as well. At Drew Sports Crew, though, contact on any platform for the hats, right? I mean, I'm wearing them right now. Wearing one. Journey Million one is in the back there. $15 is the price for those. And the people have been buying, and I appreciate everyone, for all your support on those. So remember, go check those out. Also, all right, Fantasia, just a reminder there, they got new. I was informed they got a new promo thing. Of course, the refer a friend, as I've been hyping up, but they have some, new modifications to it. That's, really exciting. Basically, it was every 3 referrals that you got a ticket for the entry. Now, though, it has changed. What happens is for every referral you get, yourself and the person you referred get a ticket. So basically, a ticket can be used to enter a contest or whatever, right? It's an awesome deal, right? And you can check that out. That's in the link tree down below is where you'll find that. You can just click on the Fantasia link and it'll get you all set up there. Otherwise, we'll go through recording schedule, and then I'm going to go through and we'll talk about, right, the Spotify podcast Unwrapped that came out. Some exciting stuff on there. But here, let me just pull that up. But the schedule I'll touch on here. The big thing, right, is we got 3 episodes this week. Of course, you got me right now here for episode 91 of the Sports Crew. However, we have, Drew's Basketball Crew coming your way. It'll be either Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on the slate, of course. I've been opting for that Wednesday time. Otherwise, you'll find, of course, Journey to Million Wednesday night, right? Usual time there. Again, drafts are being done before the episode, 5:45 roughly. We'll be on the air 5:40-ish maybe, and then we'll go till 6:40 is how that rolls. I get that'll stick around for next few weeks here. It'll be interesting to see. I'm thinking we'll stick with the Wednesday time for late December into January. However, it might be like a 7 o'clock time. And of course, I'll keep you posted on that. But lastly, I've been touching on this in all the episodes this past week. I wanted to thank you, the listener, right? On a successful year here at Drew Sports Crew. So I'm going to go through some of the numbers that I got from the podcast. I shared some of the story. I've talked about them in prior episodes. So if you've heard those, just bear with me. I want to go through it. The main, or there's a few big ones. The growth, especially, and just going through the most followed podcast. We are in the top 15% in the most followed podcast. Look, this isn't just about me, right? This is about all of us. So the proper, of course, to say we here. And I just want to thank you all on that. I also want to talk about the podcast gains that were experienced in 2022. Again, this is huge. I shared this on the story. I've talked about it. So going through it, this past year, up this podcast, Drew Sports Crew, up 220% for the followers. So big numbers there. And then for streams, up 164%. Listeners, up 156%. And then up hours, 112%. Look, these numbers are just a reflection on the work I've done. Look, this is a reflection on you, the listener, for all the help, right? I mean, guys at Journey to Million. Look, this isn't just, this isn't just a one-man wrecking crew, right? I got people helping me along the way, and again, I want to thank you all on that. I truly appreciate all the support, and I've talked about it, big things planned, right, in year 3, 2023, and this is just a start. So again, thank you everyone for all your support, and I'm looking forward to what the future brings here on the podcast. We got some great stuff coming up. We're finally going to do that Thrive Fantasy giveaway on Wednesday, right? I mean, just another way giving back to the listeners for all their support. Also, we got a Christmas giveaway coming your way. Announcements for that will be out in a few weeks, so keep that in mind. But again, thank you all, and some great numbers there on the growth. So really put a smile on my face last week seeing that. And let's go through here on the Eastern Wisconsin Conference. We'll talk some high school here. We'll start on the girls' side. And this past week, right, brought us some conference games, and we'll go through some of the standings here. So right now in conference, we got Brilliant and Chilton, the lone undefeated teams. Yeah, that was quick, right? 2 games in, 3 games for some teams, only 2 unbeaten teams left. Brilliant and Chilton, those lone 2-0 in conference, and 3-1 for Brilliant overall, 5-0 for Chilton overall. So there you go. Nice start for Chilton on that 5-game start to start the year. New Holstein, 2-1. They are 4-1 overall. Kiel Roncalli 1-1 in conference, 2-3 for Kiel overall. Roncalli 2-2 overall. Valders 1-2 in conference, 1-5 overall. Sheboygan and Two Rivers are rounded out. Both 0-2 in conference. However, Sheboygan Falls 2-3 overall. Two Rivers 1-5 overall. Let's go through the stats here. Allison Kakis leads the conference in scoring 24 a game for her. Grace Shizzle in second, 23.6. Adeline Hurl, 17.3. Addison Schwely, 15.8. And then Peyton Grenza rounds it out here, 15.6. So 2 scores from New Holstein, not Chilton. New Holstein are in the top 5. And then for rebounds per game, Peyton Grenzer leads the way, 15.8 rebounds for her. Adeline Hurl, 12 on the dot for her. And then Allison Kakis, 11 for her. Assists per game, Allison Kakis, 5.2 assists per game. Olivia Shue with 5. Alyssa Wolfel with 4.6. So let me read Allison Kakis' line for you guys through. This would be 6 games for Two Rivers. She is currently averaging 24 points. She's averaging 11 rebounds. So here it is, 24, 11, and 5. Basically, 5.2 assists. I'll round it down. So, I mean, just looking at those numbers, right? Video game numbers here for Kakis to start the year through 6 games is what it is. And it's going to be interesting to see how that continues. Certainly right now looking like a conference player of the year. Can't count out Grace Shizzle, Adeline Hurl as well. Both have been doing very well. Even Peyton Grenzer of New Holstein. For games this week, though, we have a full slate. I mean, I mentioned we got mostly all conference games, and on the girls' side, though, we got some non-con here on Monday. So that would be tomorrow night. This episode, again, will be coming out Spotify Monday morning. So if you're listening then tonight, right, Algoma will travel to Two Rivers to face the Raiders. Roncalli, then they got a game at Sevastopol. And then we have Sheboygan South traveling to Sheboygan Falls. And that's on Tuesday. So the Tuesday other games, Kiel and Kiwani is the lone other one. However, EWC conference action picks back up on Thursday. We got Chilton, Two Rivers, Kiel Valders, Roncalli, New Holstein, and Sheboygan Falls and Brilliant. On Saturday, then, we got some more non-con games, and that'll wrap it up for the week then. It's Cedar Grove, Belgium, traveling to Valders. Roncalli then traveling to Kohler. So there you go. That is your recap here for EWC for the girls. So, the stats there, Brilliant. Chilton still off the hot start. Will they stay undefeated in conference? We'll wait and see on that. But let's go to the boys' side here. So the boys, they have a full week basically of conference games here. And it's Tuesday, Friday this week are those conference games. We have some good ones too. I'll start again in standings here and going through it. Brilliant, Kiel, Roncalli, Valders each win their first conference game. There's only been one conference game played so far. And Chilton, New Holstein, Sheboygan Falls, Two Rivers were the losers in those, so they are 0-1. However, I'll go through the overall records. Brilliant 2-0 overall. Kiel 2-0 overall. Roncalli 1-0 overall is what I'm seeing. I thought they lost the game though. I guess no, they did beat Chilton. Roncalli did win that one, so they're 1-0. Valor's 2-1. Chilton 1-2. New Holstein 0-3. Sheboygan Falls 0-2, and then Two Rivers 2-1. So those are your standing updates there. Let's go to the stats. Brady Richards of Two Rivers. So on boys and girls side, we have a Two Rivers Raider as the leading scorer. So I wanted to throw that out there. It's quite the stat. Jeremy Lorenz of Brilliant with 23 a game. Cole Hovey, Valders 22.3. Pierce Arns 20.0. And then Max Miller 19.0. Then we got Grant Munns leading rebounds per game. Shocker. 17 a game for him. Max Miller with 15. Jeremy Lorenz 12.5. Assists per game. Parker Brown 7.5 assists a game for him to start the year. That is through 2 games, if you're wondering. Pierce Arns 5 assists. Cole Hovey 3.7. Those are your stat leaders on the boys' side. So let's go through then the conference games. So we got some good ones coming up. Valders and Chilton should be a good one. That is on Tuesday. So tomorrow night, you got that 7 p.m. Again, if you're listening on Monday. New Holstein and Roncalli, Sheboygan Falls Kiel, Two Rivers Brilliant. So, I think Chilton Valders will be the best game out of those. Then on Friday, Valders and Kiel will be a great one. And then we have Two Rivers Roncalli. Could be a good one. I'd be intrigued to see that. Sheboygan Falls, New Holstein, and then Brilliant Chilton. Probably a pretty balanced night overall for all 4 matchups. I think there should be some competition involved in each of them. I do think Valders and Kiel will be the most competitive, but that's where I'm out at that. Saturday, we got some nice conference non-con games. We have Cedar Grove, Belgium traveling to Valders as well for this. 2:30 is this game. Then at 6 o'clock, you got Wrightstown traveling to Brilliant, though. So should be a nice competitive game there for the Lions. Get them some good non-con competition is what you're looking for on that. But otherwise, right, like to keep the EWC part here brief on these episodes. Again, special thanks to wisports.net. That link is down below. Again, special thanks WSN for all, and check them out, of course, for all of your high school sports needs, right? For basketball, football, whatever sport you're looking for, check out wisports.net. All right, let's move over here to the professional side. We'll start in the world of football. Yeah, we'll go to the NFL. We'll talk about that Packer game we witnessed today at noon on Fox. It was a good one for the Packers. Not a good one if you're a Bears fan, though. Aaron Rodgers didn't play the best in this one, but played well enough to get the job done. Had his defense come up big with some crucial turnovers. They forced some nice ones there. 3 total turnovers in the game were forced by that Packer defense. Bears again had 3 turnovers. However, touching on team stats first, if you just saw total yards, you'd be looking at Bears could have won this game. It was something. Bears put up over 400 yards of offense. This offense is looking a lot better than the Bears first met the Packers earlier in the year. Packers put up 357 yards of offense against a depleted Bears defense that still put up a fight in a good chunk of drives. It was 10 points only allowed through 3 quarters. They put up 18 in the fourth. It was kind of that difference. In terms of time of possession, Packers won that category, 32.5 minutes to 27.5, basically. And then the Packers had more first downs, 21-15. So, looking at the other metrics, right, that turnovers, 3-0, time of possession, first downs, you can see where the Packers won the game. And they win again by 9 points. Otherwise, going through a little bit of the scoring summary, Cario Santos had that 40-yard field goal. 3-0 was the score to start for the Bears. A 55-yard run by Justin Fields. Quite the run for him. 10-0. It was end of one. Packer fans were like, what is going on? Mason Crosby, though, answers with a field goal in the second quarter. David Montgomery gets a 7-yard touchdown run. Extra point missed, however. 16-3 your score. Bears up. Christian Watson, you guessed it, 14-yard touchdown pass. Had that. 16-10 was the score at half. Cario Santos adds another field goal in the third quarter. Third quarter was really boring. I mean, that was kind of a takeaway. It was like, oh no, this is a little boring. And then Aaron Jones was questionable like a lot throughout the game. He came in, went out. And what happened was, it was AJ Dillon who stepped up, 21-yard touchdown run, 19-17 was the score. Then the Packers get a field goal. They tack on, go up 2019. Christian Watson with a 46-yard run. And then Aaron Rodgers had a pass to Marcellus Lewis for a two-point conversion on that touchdown. So Watson has 2 touchdowns. Again, it's been, I mean, I talked about last week, Watson having this like, top 1% percentile athleticism that's, has kind of elevated his game, right? I mean, he's had injury issues, but when he's on the field, I mean, you could see he's an athlete and he's very skilled at that. And I just, for him, basically, I'm looking for, right, some of those receiving skills in terms of, make route running is a big one, I feel. If he improves on, we'll see his game elevate. I mean, that's where you'll see, if you want to see him develop into a guy like even Justin Jefferson, right, which I don't think is, I would want that, of course, but, Jefferson, of course, being like, a generational type of talent there at receiver. If Watson can get into that sort of, route running, if he can get some of those skills, I really think, who knows what the ceiling is for a guy like Watson. But I mean, through the game on the receiving side, it was 3 receptions, 48 yards. It was okay with a touchdown. A big, again, that 46-yard touchdown run was big for him. AJ Dillon led the way rushing, 18-93. This is the usage, as if, let's say, fantasy football even. Right? I mean, you'll hear me talk about this probably on Journey to Billion. You drafted AJ Dillon for games like this. I mean, you drafted them for, Rodgers throwing the ball maybe 30 times tops, throws the ball 31 today. And then you're hoping, I always like to think like 60 plays, right? You're hoping for AJ Dillon to get like 15 carries, and you're hoping like Jones to then get like 10, 15 of the other carries, and then plus those receptions. You were drafting Jones because the reception upside, which he had 5 receptions today and 9 targets, or not 9 targets, 5 targets. You're drafting AJ Dillon for for games like this, right? That 5.2 yards an attempt, rushing touchdown, red zone threat, goal line guy, right? And he was that guy today. So dynasty holder like myself, you love what you saw today. You're confident that if it ever becomes AJ Dillon's backfield, he will prevail. Allen Lazard 5 for 67 in this game, no touchdown for him. Christian Watson I talked about. Robert Tonyan was 1 for 10. Samori Torre got involved here, 1 for 7. Cobb had no receptions on the day, but 4 targets. On the Bears side, Justin Fields was fairly efficient. 20 of 25 was Fields. However, 2 of his 5 incompletions were interceptions. But QBR 90.6 compared to Rodgers 51.9. So, that was pretty good to see if you were a Bears fan there for Fields. Fields again on the ground, averaging 11.8 an attempt. Only 6 carries, though. You have to, assume that some of that injury was involved of him not getting more carries because, when he got carries, he was effective, it felt, and especially that 55-yard touchdown for him. David Montgomery looked good, 14-61, 4.4 yards an attempt with a touchdown for him. Plus, Montgomery had 4 receptions on the day. Equanimeous St. Brown had a big 56-yard reception on Jair Alexander. That was nice to see for him. Cole Kmet, 6 for 72. N'Keal Harry, it was good to see him in the stat sheet. 1 for 49, that 49-yard reception. It was his lone target of the day, too, was kind of the crazy thing. Claypool actually, was second on team in targets. Kmet had 7 targets, and Claypool 5 of 28 on the day. Decent game. That fumble lost was kind of a crucial thing there for the team. Otherwise, on the defensive side, Quay Walker had a pretty good day. Jair, if you look at the stats will tell you he had an incredible day. But again, if you were watching the game, he 7 tackles, 2 for loss. He had some pressures, but otherwise, looking at it, he also had the interception. But just watching the game, right? I mean, you got burnt in coverage, played some, try to jump some routes that you should have jumped. Uh, look, didn't look as great as stats will tell you, basically. And otherwise, right? I mean, Quay Walker, I talked about having a nice game. I do like Kingsley and Agbear. I mean, we've touched on that. Came up big, right, with Rashawn Gary out. Otherwise, this defensive unit, allowing 400 plus yards, it's hard to say like this unit collectively played good. I think there were some bright spots, I'd say that, but otherwise, Jack Sanborn on the Bears side, that rookie out of Wisconsin, right? You're a Badger fan, you know all about him. Had a big game, 11 total tackles, one for a loss. Seemed like he was involved in every play. And of course, the Chicago defense trades a lot of talent, so it's pretty depleted. I think Sammer was the main guy who stood out today for them. The secondary certainly looked inexperienced, and they showed that, right? Rodgers was able to take advantage on some plays where he needed to. We did see Randall Cobb back for a punt today. I think that was something I thought was interesting. But otherwise, I mean, not really much else in this one. Packers on a bye next week. We'll be we won't have a game to preview, but we'll be previewing the next week's matchup there for the Packers. But they moved to 5-8, and what that means is, I mean, division's certainly kind of like out. It's out of sight. But what we're seeing though is we are seeing the playoff picture. I'll touch on it. That tie makes it a little interesting. They're kind of in their own spot, being the 5-8. Basically, the Atlanta Falcons have a tiebreaker over the Packers right now based on strength of victory, which is a stat they use. Otherwise, they're behind Detroit, Washington. It's kind of a little bit of a mess there, but it'll be interesting to see, the Packers, if they make a little bit of run, they could be, they have to get pretty lucky as they're not going to hold like any of the tiebreakers, unfortunately, against those playoff teams, considering they've lost against those playoff teams. So we'll keep that in mind here. But again, they have a bye in week 14. But we go to week 15, and you'll find them against Los Angeles, the Rams. So a winnable game at Lambeau Monday night. You got to like their odds in that one. They could potentially move their 6-8, but we talked about they go to Miami on Christmas. So it's like, okay, you could win, and then that could be the nail in the coffin there on Christmas at noon on Fox. So that'll wrap it up for the Packer discussion here. We'll go to the world of the Milwaukee Bucks here before we wrap up. And I want to announce tomorrow there will be, of course, a new Milwaukee Bucks, season, the weekly preview, the team picks, whatever you want to call it, where I pick the Milwaukee Bucks record. I predict the Milwaukee Bucks record. A new post will be out for that. Special thanks to Zach from Journey Million. Zach Roush helped me out with a template. Looks awesome. You'll see it tomorrow. And we're looking to move some of that around, and of course let us know what you think. If you think there's some improvements, if you think there's something we should be doing differently, always open to feedback. Again, at True Sports Crew is where you can reach me on there. However, let's go through this past week. So of course we go from Monday to Sunday. That's how we roll. And we had New York. We talked about the Knicks. You get the win at Madison Square Garden, 109-103. Giannis puts up 37. It seems like whenever he plays the New York Knicks, even if it's at the Garden, I mean, Giannis goes off 37, 13, 7 was that game there. And then you got a tight one. It was at home against the Lakers on ESPN, 133-129 final. The Bucks fall in that game, and that game was frustrating from a Bucks fan perspective. Of course, when you lose to the Lakers, lose to LeBron and AD. Again, AD, he matches up so well against this Bucks team because it's like Giannis, you want against like LeBron, you want him in the paint. I mean, of course, perimeter is fine, but they did a great job, of course. Having Darvin Ham, Bucks former assistant on their team. They were able to take advantage of some mismatches. They were able to create mismatches, and I felt, not just thinking about Brook Lopez, but these are games where it sometimes can be tough to play Brook Lopez. The plus minus 6 for him, so it's not like he was this minus 20 guy, but that -6, I think it ended up hurting the Bucks more than it shows. He has 3 blocks, plays okay offensively. It's just defensively, there's some mismatches that get created just because just unfortunate with right how his size and where he is in his career. Not the best matchup against this team, but you can also point to like Pat Connaughton 3 for 10. Some of those guys on the bench not performing as well or than Bobby, but otherwise, Middleton in his debut, he looked okay. It was first game back. 17-7, 17.7 assists. Like defensively, I think of course you could tell it's been a while for Middleton, but I'm certainly pleased with what I saw from Chris Middleton in this game. Defensively, threes weren't necessarily the issue. It was 11 for 26. It's solid, but they only made 11 threes. They were just efficient. They shot 53% from the field. Bucks also shot 53%. They were just able, they got to the free throw line 24 times. That'll win you a game in the NBA, but it was pretty balanced. They ran mostly with a 7-man rotation. They played this game pretty competitively. Bucks going more with 8 or 9 men. But just wanted to throw that game in. That was a huge one there in, of course, Milwaukee. And again, Darvin Ham makes that return to Milwaukee, gets the win. Good for him, right? Respect his job, his role with the Bucks these past few years, but just an unfortunate loss for the Bucks. Let's continue with the schedule here. We had, of course, that back-to-back. I was like, oh no, Bucks are going to bench a lot of players. They did. They benched almost everyone, right? Bobby Portis led that team to a victory on Saturday. It was an awesome one for the Bucks. You got to love it. Bobby had 28-7 in that game. His best game of the year, I'd say. And they're able to, win that. No Giannis, I mentioned. No Drew. No Chris. And you still get the job done. So you got to be pleased with those results. And I just want to touch on the stats a little here, how they managed to do it. And the stats tell you, right? I mentioned Bobby. Jordan Nwora was 7 for 11 in that game. Brook Lopez played. It was Javon Carter, Grayson Allen, those guys. And then we saw Sandro Mamukelashvili. Thanasis Antetokounmpo played in this one, 18 minutes. George Hill played 26 minutes. AJ Green played 14. And they were still able to get the job done. It was exciting for the Bucks, I'd say, to say the least. And again, they're 16-6, and that, touching on for next week. I'll touch on a little bit of the prediction here, and of course the new post I've been mentioning, a lot more interactive, right? It kind of shows you instead of just telling you what record the Bucks are, it's going to show you where they are. It's going to show again where they are, of course, in the playoffs, and kind of where they are, where are these games I'm talking about. So if you're not always able to catch an episode, you can just catch a little snapshot of what's going on in the world of basketball. So, they go Monday night, tomorrow night at Orlando, 6:00 game. Hopefully the full squad's ready for that one. Then you go back to Milwaukee. The schedule gets a little interesting. I'll just kind of, map this out. So you got a day of travel. You go back to Milwaukee. You face Sacramento Wednesday against the Bucks at home. And then after that game ends, you got to go to Dallas. You play there at 9 p.m. on ESPN. And then Sunday, December 11th at Houston is that game, 6 p.m. So 4 games there. Should be interesting there. That Friday one on ESPN at Dallas, 9 p.m. That's the game I got the most in at Dallas. They win the one in Milwaukee again. This Dallas squad. Luka Doncic, of course, is the story, but the I like their chances against Sacramento at home. Orlando and Houston are still, they're rebuilding teams, right? So you got to like the odds there for the Bucks, and otherwise, I'm not trying to get too ahead of myself. But the schedule next week gets exciting. A lot of tough games there, some good competition. Otherwise, a 3-1 record is my prediction this week, and yeah, I mean that is going to wrap it up for myself, Drew Skyberg, here on episode 91. Again, I'll be back here Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, maybe, depending on, of course, with the games, with what slate we'll be looking at. Depends on what day Drew's basketball crew will come your way. So again, now I'll wrap it up for myself, Drew Skyberg, here on this Sunday night. Thank you all for listening to yet another episode of Drew's Sports Crew, the perfect podcast for you.